Welcome to Grounded in Faith. We have taken the show on the road to the men's conference here at St. John the Evangelist. I have great pleasure to speak with Matt Loboda today, one of our speakers at the men's conference. Matt, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Father. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, super happy to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You were telling me you're from Florida now. You live down in Florida.
That's right. We, my wife and I and our 5 children.
Okay.
Yeah, we live in Ave Maria, so it's like 30 minutes east of Naples. It's a new city, university, so we just relocated there. We were 4 years in Phoenix.
Okay.
And after having 49 consecutive days of 115 or above, we
gosh.
were like, this place is terrible. So good people, but
that's hell on earth, that kind of heat.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's good you're up here before winter's fully set in, at least when we're recording this. It's a little chilly, but not bad, right?
Like 70-degree swing, but who cares,
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Well, yeah, so we talk here on, Grounded in Faith. There's ways in which we kind of ground ourselves in faith in order to kind of live our faith out in the world. And so you do some speaking you were talking about, but then you're a family man too. You have your children. You said 5, you said?
That's right. Yeah. It's one of those funny things, Father, like there's been this like tug on my heart, but I just never have been able to be like full-time evangelist or anything like that. I like totally respect and honor the guys and girls that do that. So I sort of get my fix, like get out of the house 6 times a year and just, don't have a web page or anything like that. Just willing to share my story and the way Jesus has impacted my life. So it started like, a long time ago, and I was actually a Franciscan friar for 4 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is crazy to look back on because like I really loved the life, but the Lord has His ways. And
5 children later, right?
yeah. It's like it's probably, you might have to delete this out, but the difference between married life and religious life, I have vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience still. I just happen to sleep with my superior, so it's a little more complicated.
I've never heard that, but that's awesome. I love that.
I probably stole it from someone, but anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm sure your wife loves hearing that one. At least she knows she's the superior, right? She's in charge.
If we can make sure she doesn't hear this, that'd be great.
Yeah, no promises, because that's too good to delete out. Nice. So you said you have 5 kids, and you're sharing just before. You guys had a scare then with one of your children,
Yeah, super long story short, we were living in Tampa. Okay. This is 4 years ago, and we went to visit my in-laws in Phoenix just for a Christmas break. Like, we're super excited. Okay. And it was wild because traveling through an airport with 5 kids is a feat. But my wife had the kids doing wind sprints up and down, to get prepared for the long flight. And we were just all really excited.
For sure.
We were there for a few days, and my youngest daughter, Joy, she was 17 months at the time. She went missing on my father-in-law's property. I found her maybe 7 or so minutes later. She got into the pool area and drowned.
Oh, my gosh.
And the great thing is, like, she's perfectly fine. She's not only alive, but she's flourishing. It was really a work of God. So many people were praying for us. And the doctors, there's so many different things that happened. The doctor said, you might be here 6 or 9 months if she lives, and then we don't know the extent of brain damage because she went without a heartbeat for 45 minutes. I was giving CPR to her and the paramedics and the ER.
So she had died in that moment. Oh,
her pH level of her blood was 0. I'm not a scientist, but that means you're dead. And
oh, wow.
We prayed. We spoke life into her. Yeah. We stood on the Lord's promises, and we walked the brink of darkness. Mm-hmm. And we came out on the other end, which is totally awesome. Like, to say that I'm thankful is like a huge understatement.
Yeah, just words can't describe the level that you're feeling.
And if you saw her, like, her name's perfect for her. She's just
full of joy.
Yeah, really, really awesome. So, so I came here a couple of years ago and shared that miraculous story with everybody, with the men. Yeah. And I was invited back up, which is great. That's...
Love having you, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you don't get invited back, it didn't go over well, so...
Or maybe they're just giving you a second chance to try it. No, I'm sorry.
The mercy of the Lord, right?
Yeah. No, so that's amazing. So how long did you end up being in the hospital with her? Was it a pretty short stint, all things considered?
Yeah, it was 31 days.
If they're saying 9 months, that's... Yeah. And then, obviously something like that, it isn't just a matter of, you're out of the hospital, she's back to health, and now you move forward again. There has to be
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
It
if
was a
that way.
trial that you had to go through, I'm sure.
Yeah, we moved our family to Phoenix.
Okay.
For her extended care, she had 5 different rehab doctors, multiple appointments with each doctor a week, and all of her doctors were there. We were living in Tampa. It was a huge commute to the Children's Hospital. So, it's one of those things like you do what you got to do.
It's almost like fully
kids.
encompassing your life is now all around
Yeah,
joy
yeah.
and helping her get back to health.
Yeah, my wife was incredible. Like, she stayed at the hospital nonstop.
Wow.
We were first going to alternate, but
Yeah.
I realized that Joy needed her and she needed to be there. She was really heroic throughout the whole thing. And it's pretty amazing what happens when you got to get to it. So
I just have this image, like hearing about you share about your wife. It's almost like giving me chills, but like Mary standing under the cross.
yeah.
Like just like this kind of just like, I know I need to be here for my son. And she knows she needed to be there for your daughter.
Yeah. Like, there's like just experiences that I went through, like when we got Joy to the ambulance. My wife was confused. I looked and I saw her. She was up by the fire truck. I've never heard wailing like that, and just ripped my heart apart.
Yeah.
Wow, mother losing her. It's different for dads and moms, and not to minimize what I went through, but I get it, And so our hearts go out to parents that have, lost children through accident or disease. And my wife actually primarily has like a pretty big ministry with that now.
Oh, really?
Facebook's is ridiculous to me, but it has great uses.
If you use it correctly, otherwise it can be
a lot
very
of people
dangerous.
reach out to her for prayer and things like that. So, thank God that, we are where we are now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost like God is, he because of that, not that God caused that, right? But he's going to take the worst moments of our life and he can bring goodness out of it. And it almost sounds like, especially for your wife and for you, to now he's like, at this moment, he's asking you to share that with other people, both being able to sit with somebody who's in that pain, who didn't have the miracle happen for them, but also then to share it with, like you're saying, with all these men that are here today saying like, this is what happened and it's a powerful experience.
This isn't a criticism, like just this is my experience. Like Jasani, I'm not sure you're familiar with him, Communion Liberation.
Yep.
It says,
sure.
validate, your experience of the Lord's, truth, good, beauty, your experiences, all that. And I wish, like the ideal, like good Catholic couple, whatever that means. That's why I go to confession all the time. But I wish I could say like my wife and I held hands and prayed the rosary together. I want that. We didn't. It was a very difficult time. We went through our trauma separately.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I wish I could be on this show with you and be like, yeah, we're like the ideal couple. But I think part of like the movement of my heart to share it is like, I think we just have to get honest sometimes. We talk about these great doctrines and ideas about marriage. People really go through it.
Yeah.
So it's not a criticism by anyone else. It's just a message that I want to share. Like, don't give up, no matter what. It's worth it. Like, so we're on the other end.
Yeah. You've walked through that darkness and now you're moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things from my perspective, like one day or a week, I could handle that. You could handle anything, right? For it was like 4 years. So it was very tough. And what I'm sharing today with the guys is like, as men, we need to be rooted in this idea and this truth that the Father wants us. He desires us. He pursues us. And
that we're beloved sons, that he truly wants us.
Yeah. And through that knowledge, like that's where we get the strength, to push through these very difficult times. And it's his strength as well.
Yeah.
But so it's my story, and that's sort of where we're at. And it's great. Like my wife and I are just very thankful that we are where we are. And my other kids are awesome. We're really blessed. So, if there's a quota for miracles, I might be at it. But
Thank goodness God's mercy is never endless, right?
Yeah.
And you said like, I wish I could be on the podcast and say, me and my wife held hands, prayed the rosaries, like, but I don't think anybody has that experience, right? And that's the beautiful thing is you're willing to share that, because I think so often we try to put our best foot forward. We would try to present ourselves so the world is, everything's great, right? Because we're the good Christian couple, or, I'm the good man, right? Like, no, life is super messy.
Yeah.
And I think it's in that messiness we find Christ, because Christ doesn't want to be the company that comes over after the house is swept up. Rather, he wants to be the family that kind of sees the mess of it all, right?
Yeah. And he meets us there, right? I mean,
oh my gosh,
I love going through Scripture and looking at it as promises, because like promises are powerful.
Yeah.
If the Lord can't keep his promises, then we're all really messed up. We're in big trouble. But I love just rooting myself in those promises, and he promises he would never abandon us. So like in my darkest times, moving through that time, I was repetitively reminding myself and taking myself to the Lord. I know you're here. I don't feel like you're here. By all apparent perception, you're not here, but I trust that you are. And looking back on it, it's like, yeah, he was there. He really was there. So
yeah, and it's so often we need that perspective then, because it's about being, God is faithful to us, so we need to be faithful back to him. We trust that he's there with us, even if we don't see him. And then like you're sharing, and I think that's so much hope that we can give to people, right? Like in the midst of that, like I now see how God was helping me in that moment, because maybe somebody right now in this room is going through the same thing and need to be reminded, or hearing this, I need to know that God is still here, and we're speaking to that right now.
Yeah, there's a couple like bunch of practical things that I implemented in my life. Like prayer was really important. Like dedicated time was prayer, friends, not isolating, and holding on to that like real thin thread of hope, where it was almost like, I can't see this changing.
Yeah.
But by the grace of God and really his outpouring of his love, we're in a great place, and I'm really thankful for that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so, Matt, for coming on the podcast. If you liked this episode of Grounded in Faith, make sure you like, subscribe, share this with people. Maybe you know somebody that's going through something similar, that's just in a place of just hopelessness almost, whatever that is. And they need to hear that there is a God that is with them and a God that loves them, even if they can't see it. Matt, thank you again so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Father.
Make sure you ground yourself in the faith in order to live that out. So ground yourself in the faith and live it to the world around you. God bless.